I've been dating my man for 8 years, and we are finally planning to get married. We had our introduction last year, and this year was supposed to be our big wedding, my dream. But then, life threw us a curveball. His mother was diagnosed with a kidney problem. It was devastating. As someone who hopes to become part of this family, I stepped up. I spent countless hours at the hospital by her side, doing everything I could to help. Last week, the doctor suggested testing everyone in the family to find a kidney match. Out of concern and love, I agreed to be tested, not expecting what was to come. The results came back, and it felt like a cruel twist of fate, only two people matched. His youngest sister, a 25-year-old student, and me. That's when the pressure started. His family came to me with a proposal. They asked me to donate my kidney, promising to spend the treatment money on our wedding. When I told my family, they were horrified. My mother broke down in tears. She pleaded with me, saying, "Your health is not something you can gamble with." Her words haunt me, but so does the weight of my love for this man and his family. I feel trapped. I've come so far with my man, sacrificing so much for this relationship. His family's promise of a house after marriage dangles in my mind like a carrot on a string. His younger sister could also donate, but they say she's too young and has her future to build. I'm 30. I've lived a little longer, but does that make my life less important? Then there's my man. He's been begging me, saying this will prove my love. He's even promised to stop cheating. As if that's my reward for this sacrifice. I feel torn between love and self-preservation, between loyalty and fear. I love my mother-in-law. I really do. But is this too high a price to pay? I don't know what to do. Do I risk my health for a chance at happiness? Or walk away? Please. I need advice. What would you do in my shoes? Is love worth this kind of sacrifice?
My husband is mad at me for minding my business too much. I married the most amazing man, kind, loving, and generous to a fault. But his generosity is a blessing and a burden because he just can't say no to his family. He's the breadwinner, paying school fees and bills for everyone. Meanwhile, his elder brother does absolutely nothing to help. It's hard to watch, but I keep quiet. I mind my business. Then came the house project. At first, we agreed to give it to my cousin's husband. But suddenly, my husband changed his mind and gave it to his elder brother. I tried to question it, but he shut me down. He's my brother. Stay out of it. So, I apologized and stayed out of everything. Completely. Weeks later, the complaints started. Delays, issues. I just nodded and said, "Chai, it is well." Then one Saturday morning, he was yelling on the phone. Turns out, his brother hadn't done a single thing with the project money. Now my husband is mad at me for not speaking up sooner. But how could I? When I tried, he told me to stay out of it. Lesson learned. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way.
My husband of 6 years is divorcing me. The reason? He just found out that our firstborn, the child he has loved and raised, is not biologically his. It all started when a friend I trusted sold me out. She told my husband something that made him suspicious. He demanded a paternity test, and I begged him not to go through with it. But he wouldn't listen. The results came back negative. The love of my life looked at me, with tears and betrayal in his eyes. Now, he says he can't trust me anymore. He wants a divorce. Here's the thing. This doesn't make sense to me. Yes, I know I made a mistake. But for 5 years, he has been the most amazing father to our child. He has kissed this child goodnight every single day, comforted them when they cried, and celebrated every milestone. And now, because of a mere test, he wants to throw it all away. The child is still the same, intelligent, humble, loving, and incredibly cute. Why can't we pray about it? Why can't we invite God to guide us through this storm? Isn't forgiveness supposed to be a part of love? I'm drained. My mind keeps replaying the moment he walked out of the house. The pain in his eyes, The heaviness in his step, it's unbearable. I know I was wrong, but does that one mistake mean I deserve to lose everything? My husband, my marriage, my family? What would you do if you were in my shoes? Is there still hope for us? Or is this the end?
I have been married for 3 years. My husband and I relocated to the United Kingdom a year after our wedding. We were once best friends before we got married. We relocated through the student route. He was the student, and I was the dependent. I got pregnant last year and delivered my baby this year. During my pregnancy, my home became hell for me. My husband completely changed. He would go to work and sometimes not come back home. He felt disgusted toward me. Due to the delicacy of my pregnancy, I was advised to be bedridden for a while. My husband would make fun of me for not being able to do anything for myself. He would compare me to some women we know. My pregnancy made me darker. It gave me all sorts of decorations on my body. One fateful day, he was in the shower. His phone was plugged in the bedroom, and a message popped up. Lo and behold, it was from his colleague at work. The message was nasty. She talked about how she couldn't get enough of him the last time. I broke down in tears. At this point, I couldn't contain my emotions. I confronted him. This man looked me dead in the eyes and told me he's a man. He said men are generally polygamous in nature and can sleep with many women. He asked if I expected him to sleep with me in my current state. He concluded by saying we would talk about sex once I was no longer pregnant. I reported him to both our families. His family told me to endure and pray for him. My family supported them. He refused to let my mom come to care for me. I would cry all night with no one to comfort me in my most delicate state. At this point, I knew I had just myself, my unborn child, and God. I had to be strong for us. I made up my mind to take revenge. He even got himself a white woman for paper's sake. Meanwhile, I had a colleague who knew what I was going through. She suggested helping me with her son to get my papers after childbirth. Her son was 27 at the time, and both she and her kids had their green cards. Fast forward to recent days. My body is fully back, and I have resumed working. My manager, a white man, showed interest in me. He's divorced and knew I was unhappy. I invited him over one weekend to see my baby. He was so much in love with my baby. It was as if the child was his. We kissed, and he assured me he'd always be there for me. He told me to let him know when I wanted him to be part of our lives completely. Sincerely, he had been supportive ever since. My husband noticed my happiness. He wanted to go down with me, but I told him I wasn't interested. I moved to the second room because I couldn't stand him. I didn't know how he found out about the white guy. He was furious. He called all our family members to warn me, or else I'd regret it. I knew the highest he could do was to send me back home. Recently, I got a memo that their company's license was revoked. Meanwhile, my company offered me sponsorship. I didn't add him to the offer. Is this God not great? To top it off, my new man can't wait to marry me. Everyone is calling me names, including my parents. I dropped a bulk message for them to pray for me to change. My baby and I moved into a new apartment with the help of my new man. My husband doesn't know and has been calling since receiving the divorce papers. Everyone is against me now, and I don't even care. Did I go too far?